Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. I don't think I turned that on. Oh, there it is. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club at Toledo. Happy New Year. All right, you guys are almost awake. I like it. Let's start our meeting off with a reflection. I'd like to ask Kelly Train to come to the podium to deliver a reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have to say it's a special celebration today for me to be back. I've been absent for 2.5 months. I had knee replacement surgery and super excited. I was able to master those stairs like a champ. So please join me in this reflection on the new year. Each new year, we have before us a brand new book containing 365 blank pages. Let us fill them all. The forgotten things from last year, the words we forgot to say, the love we forgot to show, and the charity we forgot to offer. I'd like to thank Peggy Tony Horton for those words. She is an author. She grew up in a coal mining town and had a challenging life growing up, and I just look to her for inspiration as we enter into the new year. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks.
Thank you very much. As we begin our meeting, I'd like to thank and acknowledge Impact Employment Solutions as this month's sponsor and Rotarian Gary Murphy. Gary, are you out there? All right. Kurt's here. We'll give you credit for it, Kurt. Thank you. Tell Gary that with the applause, we're all for you. All right, thank you. If anybody has any guests that they would like to introduce, now is the time. Members, if you can introduce your guest with their name and where they work, that would be great, and you can bring them to the floor mic at this time.
President Kevin, good morning. My guest today is Greg Cook. Greg is the president and CEO of the University of Toledo Federal Credit Union. Greg Cook.
Nelson, thank you for being here. Congrats on your new job as well.
Hello, President Kevin and fellow Rotarians. I have with me a UT athletic student who is on the swim team. She's part of the Ascend program, and she's my mentee. Please welcome her.
Welcome. All right, it's so great to see all of you guys back here as we start a new year. And speaking of new things, I would like to invite Jackie to the podium for an important office update.
Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year to you. I am pleased to introduce somebody special today. This with us is Chris Schultz. She will be the interim executive director here with the Rotary Club while I am soon to be on my maternity leave. You'll have me probably for one more Monday program, and then I will have 12 weeks off to see the birth of my child. So I'm very excited for that. I'm very blessed that the board has given me 12 weeks, and I'll miss you guys, but you'll be in amazing hands. Chris comes to us very highly recommended, and she is here for us on her first day. Thank you all.
Chris, we're going to let you off the hook today, but you're probably going to have to talk at future meetings. So, all right. It's my pleasure to inform you that we recently approved the following individuals as new members as our growing club continues to grow. Please join me in welcoming, and if you are here in the room and would like to stand, that would be great. Noah Winkleman, Janice Sizemore, and Katie Weber of Talbot Behavioral Health. Stephen Ambrose from Raymond, Matt Kemp from Shoemaker, Loop and Kendrick, Lance Self from Taylor Automotive, Stephanie Shackelford from the Lucas County Land Bank, Ronald Wells Jr. from the Lucas County Commissioners, Trevor Doran from Wonder Wash Exterior, Dave Dorner from Integrate, Steve Naylor from Seagate Roofing, and Tom Sorosiak from the Northwest Ohio Polish Cultural Center. Please join me in a round of applause welcoming our new Rotarians. All right, let's get to today's program. I am very excited for today's fireside chat with Tim Berta. Tim is a survivor of the 2007 Bluffton baseball crash. If you are not familiar with his story, on March 2nd, 2007, the baseball team at Bluffton University was headed to Florida for a spring break baseball trip when their bus crashed through the fence on the highway overpass on I-75 near Atlanta and landed onto the highway below. 5 members of the team, along with the driver and his wife, died in that crash. Of the 28 survivors, Tim had the most life-threatening injuries. He was in critical care in Atlanta for 6 weeks, was told that he'd never walk, he'd never drive a car, he'd never learn anything new. But by the grace of God and Tim's incredible spirit, he has defied all odds, and we are pleased to have him here with us today. The next chapter of Tim's baseball and educational career takes place at Lourdes University, where, not surprisingly, he's developed a friendship with the university's president. I know we're in for an inspiring, emotional, impactful discussion today, so please welcome our moderator, Lourdes University President and Toledo Rotarian Bill Bissett, and the incredible Tim Berta.
Okay. Hi, Tim. Hi, Bill. So I think I tell people I have the second best job in Toledo next to Kevin Mullen, because being the president of a wonderful university like Lourdes University, I get the opportunity to meet some really incredible people. And as Kevin was saying, Tim and I, we've really only known each other since June of 2023. But it seems like it's been a lot longer than that. Tim was I think the first person I met on our Alumni Association board when I started at Lourdes on June 5th, 2023. And I think we've had a conversation, if not almost on a daily basis, almost on a weekly basis, about something, whether it's about the Lions game or things that are going well and not so well at Lourdes from Tim's perspective. But Tim has really become a great friend. And again, yes, he has his bachelor's degree from Bluffton University, but he has his master's degree from Lourdes University. And again, that's where we like to say that's really where you're an alumnus, right? So Tim, let's jump right into it. So perfect. You've recently self-published a book called Fielder's Choice. And I know from personal experience, watching you put the finishing touches on that book, it was a real labor of love for you. It took a lot of time and took a lot of energy. The book was published in the fall, came out in the fall.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You've had a chance to do some book launch conversations and to have conversations
Yes.
with small groups of people.
Yes.
But can you tell us, why did you feel the need to write the book? And what has been the response from people that heard through the book your story and heard about your personal journey relating to the accident for the first time?
I wrote the book because without talking to each other, different people in my life at different times for different reasons all suggested that, you should write a book. Or, that'd be a good book. Or, boy, I'd love to read about that in a book. And so when it came at me from all different angles, I'm thinking, why not write a book? So, and then I was at Lourdes. I don't remember what for. I believe it was an alumni event because I had just graduated, and I met a lady there, Ruthie Mitchell, and we started generally speaking, and she asked me what I was up to, and I told her, and I said, and you know, would you happen to know anyone who can help me or assist me, because I want to write a book, but I have no idea where to start. I mean, where would I even begin with that? Do you know anyone who could at least guide me toward that goal? And she said, oh, well, I do that. Oh, well, would you be willing? Yeah, heck yeah. So that's when we started, and it was only a couple months after I graduated that spring, so no rest for the wicked, I guess. So it felt like the right time, and everything seemed, all the ducks seemed to get in the line on their own. So it was a really good time to do it.
And you know, you and I have talked about this a little bit since the book came out, but there are people in this room, for instance, that know your story very well. I know there are people that have been with you since March of 2007 when the
Yeah.
accident occurred.
Yeah.
But there are people in this room that don't know your story, haven't seen the ESPN piece, have not had the chance to read the book. And from your experience talking about your story in book form, you had mentioned to me that, you know, there have been people that have come up to you for the first time and have talked about the impact the book has had, you know, your story has had on their lives. Can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, and again, people just kind of stopping you on the street and saying, I read the book, or I read this part of the book, and it really connected with me.
Right. Well, it's got 5 stars on Amazon, so that's good. It's especially impactful to me because when I wrote about those things, to me, it's just what happened. I hated it at the time, a lot of these things, but they happened and I deal with them. And when they read it for the first time, or if they don't know, they're blown away. They don't, like I had the guy I coach girls golf with at Summerfield High School. He read it, and he was absolutely floored by what my brain did. He'd never even heard of anything like that. And I had neither when it happened, but see, and to me, 'cause he was blown away by that. And at first I was too, but now it's like, that happened. I mean, that's how it is. So it's kind of lost its luster, and it's helpful for me to see people like that who are really impacted by everything that happened. And not just the brain, everything. Yeah.
The story around your recovery is extraordinary. I mean, I think we use that term a lot just in day-to-day life, but I mean, it is truly an extraordinary story. You've been a competitive athlete most of your life. As a matter of fact, if you ever play golf with Tim at Highland Meadows Country Club, he's referred to as primetime Berta because he's so competitive still on the golf course. Again, being on teams most of your life and being on teams that have been focused on one common goal or on winning, you know, can you talk, Tim, about the teams that, again, have been helpful to your recovery. Your mom and dad are here. I mean, they're
Yes.
clearly part of the team.
Yes.
I know your sisters have been
Yes.
incredibly important to you in your
Yes.
recovery.
Yes.
People in the community have been incredibly important to you here in Toledo. The folks at the hospital in Atlanta that were part of your team were very, very important to your recovery.
Right.
But maybe walk us through a little bit how that whole team concept, and especially how you, as a competitive athlete and focusing on your recovery, how you went from a point where you had people telling your parents when you were in a coma for how many days?
Oh, I
Couple.
don't remember.
That's right. That you weren't going
I-
to walk again, you weren't going to talk, you
Yeah.
wouldn't drive a car, you wouldn't, I mean, and, you know, you're the first one to talk about the fact that you didn't get here on your own, but maybe walk
Right.
us through a little bit about how that whole team concept got to where you are today.
Well, as a team, if you're playing a game, you play to win the game. So if you're a teammate, you're going to do everything in your power. You're part of the team to meet that goal. Like in Atlanta, for example, Mom and Dad were down there the next day, or that night. My friend, at least one of my friends, was there that same night or the next day or something like that. And there was a nurse, and I share this with a lot of the nursing classes I speak to in Atlanta. He would come in on his days off, and he would check my vitals, shine his nursing light into my eyes to check my brain activity, clean my room. He's not getting paid to do that. But that's what I tell the nursing classes. He was a nurse. His job, he was on the team to get me through. And he did just that. And then I got a really bad infection anyway. And another team member in Atlanta had to do the surgery that he did. And he was part of the team. And then I was flown up to UT. Those therapists, I credit Mom and Dad, they told the doctors and the medical staff, look, we're not doctors, we're not therapists. We don't know anything about this. We want you to get our son as far back as you can get him. If you need us to help, we will do what we can. If you need us to get out of the way, we will do that. And I credit Mom and Dad for that, because they're professionals, they know what they're doing. And that simple act really helped me recover. And the therapists at UT, they learned about me. They tailored my rehab to different sports. They set a Sports Illustrated on a standing table you could raise up, and that would get me standing there long periods of time. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the Sports Illustrated. And I'm sure it would have had the same effect, but I don't think it was a swimsuit edition, but and they played baseball in the lobby. And they played tennis with a racket. There was a time where I was playing with an older guy, and he hit it up, and it was like getting set for a spike in volleyball, and I reared back and I slammed it back because I thought I was trying to win, and it hit him in the head, and his toupee flew back and came back down. And that was one of the first times that I laughed. Yeah. But it wasn't a laugh, it was more of snort and a grunt, but still, I mean, because that brought me back to being an athlete. In that moment of seeing that balloon lofted up there and me thinking this is an opportunity for a spike, that the competitor inside me that brought that out. And in that moment, I was who I used to be. Same as in golf. Now, I'm not a very good golfer, but when I, on occasion, hit a good shot or make a good putt, as you saw a couple times, and it is flying right where I want it to go, or angling the way I thought it would angle and drops in the hole or sets right in the middle of the fairway. It's not for very long, but in that instant, in that moment, I'm who I was. I'm who I used to be. This never happened. And I'm a good athlete again. And I can't get enough of that.
I'm going to go off script a little bit here because you just reminded me of something.
Okay.
And this is in the book, but you and I have talked about this too. There was a period during your rehab, and I forget if it was in Atlanta or it was here at UT, where you had convinced yourself that the physical therapists were plotting in unison to embarrass you.
They were trying to get me to quit.
Talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit, because again, psychologically, you really felt that there was this concerted effort against you in your rehab. But talk a little bit about that whole experience. And I think you've said in the past that it was actually a pivotal period in your rehab. Can you speak to that a little bit?
That was at UT in the rehab. See, I thought everyone in the hospital was out to get me. I thought they were trying to get me to quit. Hey, let's have fun with this dude. He doesn't know what's going on. So let's not tell him, and let's make him walk on their treadmill and try and move these cones with his bum arm and all these things. Oh, that'd be fun. See, that's what I thought. And I thought the better I did, the less they would have to laugh at, and then they would let me get out of here, send me home. Never mind the fact that mom and dad were there, just letting this happen. That didn't cross our mind, but see, I had it in my head that they were all out to get me. And that, more than a lot of things, really drove me to do as well as I could. In case they were good that, they thought that, he's trying hard, he's really going after this, good for him. No, sorry, it's not why I was doing it. I was doing it to get away from you.
Tim, Rotary International's primary motto is service above self. Now, I know you don't like it when people refer to you as a role model. I know you don't like that term. But you and I have discussed, or you've discussed many times in your recovery, when you were motivated to keep going because you wanted to show others who were dealing with challenges in their lives,
Yes.
that they too had the capacity to overcome their personal difficulties. Do you ever see yourself using your story as a platform to inspire others? And, again, accept the fact that you are a role model to a lot of people, and not just people that have experienced traumatic brain injuries, but people that are just dealing with challenges in their life that hear your story and think, if Tim Berta can do that, and Tim Berta can overcome some of these things, I've got this too.
Yeah, it's, well, at first I thought they were out to get me, but then the more time that went on and the more healing my brain did, then I realized that a lot of these families would love to have their son back if he's completely paralyzed, not able to move. They would love to have him here. So why can't I go after this? Why, if God gives me a chance to relearn this stuff, then why can't I go after it? And that's the way I approach life too now, because I don't always know what I'm doing, but go after it, keep pushing, keep getting after it, and that's helped me. Like just today, we were lost in the building. You told me it was the 4th floor, and there was only 3 floors, so I'm like, all right, well, let's just see what happens here.
Sorry about that.
It's all right, but it's but I mean things like that. That's an example of keep driving, keep pushing. Well, we'll figure it out somehow. So, and that's really helped me in life too. Through, I mean, if I were to be, something inconsequential happens or something, like if my zipper fell off or a button busted off, I can still drink water. I can still walk. I still have a chance. So and it really puts things in perspective, for sure.
Great segue to my next question.
Oh, good.
Now, you and I have talked privately over the last couple years about the importance of faith in your life.
Yes.
And even before the accident, I think faith was important to you, but obviously
Yes.
it's taken a whole different level in your life since
Yeah.
March of 2007. You've also shared personal experiences with me that you had since the accident that have convinced you without a doubt that a higher power was with you on March 2nd, 2007, and remains a key part of your life now. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, there are some things that happened on March 2nd, 2007 that you learned about after the accident that are just, again, extraordinary. But there's been a lot that's happened to you since, and I know not much of this is in the book. Can you share some of that with us a little bit?
Well, we were, the #1 trauma center in the entire Southeast USA or the country. My brain doctor said, no, that's #1. So whatever, but that was right there. That was right off the exit. And I was and first responders were there in minutes. And the time of day it happened, they were double staffed in the hospital because the morning shift was just arriving and the night shift had not left. And they had exactly what they needed at that trauma level 1, the worst case trauma you could get at that hospital. So I couldn't have planned that. I couldn't have tried to coordinate that. The trauma levels change in hospitals a lot. So, and the staffing's times and all that stuff. And it's unbelievable how angry I was at first, like at UT, when I was first really cognizant of what was going on. What kind of good plan is this? What are you doing to me? How could you let this happen? But then they became, why did they have to die? Why did I live? Science says there's no chance. Science says I shouldn't be here. The paramedics said the only reason they brought me in because I was young and in shape. And things line up all throughout. And now I really like what my brain did. I never would have learned about that or knew about that had that not happened. And I've seen the way the human body, unbelievable. The way it's put together, the way it heals itself, the way that systems work. It feels like it's all there for a purpose, all connected. And I know that for sure now.
No such thing as coincidences in
No.
your life, right?
Nope.
What lessons, I'm asking a Kevin Mullen question here now. I told him I'd get one of his questions in here. What lessons from your experience would you like Rotary members to take back to their own lives or service projects?
Well, to realize too that all these teams, like the therapists at UT, they made a lot of my rehab into sports because they knew I was a sports guy. They learned about me. All those things. The head rehab doctor putting me in the men's club when I felt good for nothing and worthless. That gave me yeah, I'm in the club knowing not everybody can belong to, and it's teams like that. And when I found out that I vomited on my sister on the first day of rehab, and all those things, mom taking off work to drive me to rehab for years, and all those things really emphasized to me the importance of a team and how even the tiniest member of a team could be absolutely critical. Like that nurse in Atlanta cleaning my room. Had he not done that, I might have had to fight off another deadly infection, who knows? So, was he doing that so that I would speak about him? Was he doing that so that he would be raised up? No, he was doing that as a member of the team to help him meet a patient he doesn't know meet a goal. And there were, like my rehab doctor putting me in that club.
Talk about that for a little bit, Tim, because
Okay.
there were two people during your recovery journey that you talk about. I know you talk about this in the book.
Yeah,
That had an impact on your mental state at the time.
yeah,
One is this doctor that created the Man's Club.
yeah.
Talk about him first. And then I want to talk to you about, I don't know if it was a doctor or a therapist that when you were progressing, had a conversation with you and your mom that wasn't very good, and the bedside manner was non-existent. But talk first about the doctor that created the Man's Club and what that was all about.
Well, he made me a member of the Men's Club, and he would ask me at different times, should we let this person in the Men's Club? Should we let that person in the Men's Club? And that gave me a sense of belonging. Even though I was in a wheelchair, I was drooling, I was good for nothing, but all of a sudden, I was a member of a club, and I had decision-making authority, and that boosted my spirits, some fears. They weren't therapists, they weren't really anyone who had anything to do with me. They were neuropsychologists whose job was to give me that test and then predict where I would end up, and they were awful. I did terrible on the test at that time in my life, and they predicted I'd never walk, never drive, never graduate, never finish my degree at Bluffton, and get this, never learn anything new the rest of my life. So why do I know your name is Bob Savage? I shouldn't know that. I can't see that name from here, or the name tag. Why do I know your name is President Bill Bissett? I shouldn't know. I didn't know that before. So that really, if thinking they were all out to get me at first motivated me, that motivated me even more. Oh yeah? Will you tell me I'm not gonna do that? Well, watch me. I'm not one of those people where if you say, well, you're not gonna be able to do that, okay. I'm gonna say, if I really want to, okay, I'll see what I can do. If I can't, then you win, but if I can, I'll make you look like an idiot.
Tim, you're one of the most optimistic people I know. Are there any specific habits or practices that have helped you maintain a positive outlook on life since 2007?
For sure, though, the power of prayer and the power of God, I've had no idea. I mean, I believed, I didn't, yeah, he's helped, oh yeah, he's there, but I had no idea about the way he works and the way that, the timing, unbelievable. But I definitely, besides that, I definitely tried to keep God in my life every day, and I definitely try to stay as physically active as I can too, because that is the #1 healer for the brain, is physical activity. I would never have guessed that. I thought it'd be watching Jeopardy or playing chess or reading an encyclopedia. No, it's physical activity. And I do my best to stay as physically active as I can. And I just worked out this morning a little bit at Lord's, by the way.
Yeah, I see you walking every day up Sylvania
Yeah.
Holland Road. And
Yeah.
I think I stopped one time and asked you if you wanted a ride, and you gave me a dirty look, and I've never asked again. Tim, what advice would you give to someone facing their own life-altering challenges?
What advice? Well, I mean, whether you believe or not, God is there. God is going to help you. Just ask away and I'm not going to say, just don't quit, because that makes it sound like it's easy. My life didn't have a completely flipped around, oh, just don't quit, you'll be fine. I'm not going to say that. Instead, I've told people, when life goes wrong, when things go bad, when things don't go the way you thought they would, or the way you wanted them to, or the way you planned them to, or the way you worked so hard for, I dare you to keep pushing. When life is wrong, I dare you to keep fighting, keep moving forward. It might not be the way you wanted, it might not be what you planned for, but keep fighting. I dare you. A lot easier said than done, but I dare you.
And my last question before we open up the floor to questions from
Okay.
our audience to you. How did the accident change your outlook on life? And how did the accident change your sense of purpose in life?
Well, like I said before, I mean, I knew about God and I know God loves me and all that wishy-washy stuff, but I had no idea how deep and intricately entwined he can be. And that's definitely brought me to a new level of trust and faith. Like I said before, the small stuff, not as big a deal as they once were. And what was the other question?
Sense of purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, clearly,
Right.
you were what, 22 years old? at the
22
accident?
years old,
And
yes.
you're 40-something?
No, I'm 40.
40.
Just turned 40 this
You're a baby.
July. Yep.
You know, as a 22-year-old,
Right.
we look at life, we look at things much differently. But, you know, here you are almost 20 years later after surviving this accident, after an incredible recovery journey. What do you consider your sense of purpose to be now?
Well, writing the book, definitely, I felt like I was supposed to do that. I felt like this is part of what I'm supposed to do. And things like this. Things like speaking to the nursing classes, speaking to the physical therapy classes. Because I'm not just a case study. I'm not just a picture in a textbook. I'm a real person with actual experiences, real life things, and I think that's got to be invaluable for those students. And if I could make one person's experience better than mine was, so be it. That's my purpose.
Okay. I think some people will probably have some questions for you.
All right.
I will say, because I don't get a chance to do this enough publicly, we are really blessed to have you a member of our family at Lourdes University.
Thank you.
Obviously, that membership started well before I became president at Lourdes, which is a story in itself, which I think is, you know, well, tell that story as we're waiting for people to come up to the microphone.
Well, before we even left on the bus from Bluffton, I planned to transfer my credits, the biology major, to be a nurse. And Lourdes is one of them I applied to, and the letter of acceptance arrived at my house the day of or the day after the accident. And when I found that out, the president at the time and the board of trustees were going to do something that we'd never done before. They sent a representative to my fundraiser in Ida, and they said, we don't know when or if Tim will ever be able to come back to school, because we don't know, but if he does, whatever he is able to do, whether it be nursing or not, even though he's already been accepted, however long it takes him, he will not pay tuition at Lourdes University. See that? That's unbelievable.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And thanks for being so open, for sharing your personal experiences again with people. I know that you're an Ida, Michigan native, but you really feel like your heart is here in the Toledo community.
Yeah.
And again, we're just really blessed to have you part of our community at Lourdes and part of this greater community too. I think I speak for everybody in this room when I say that.
Thank you.
Okay, so Chris.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tim.
Yeah,
I was just curious about team chemistry and culture. So before you were injured, you had something going on in the locker room. Then you have the experience, and it's been 20 years. I'm just curious, what's your take how that culture has evolved over that period? Any comments you'd make about what that's been like?
For my personal experience, you mean? It's different in that I used to be one of the best athletes on the team or in the group or in the room or whatever. But now all of a sudden I'm not, and I kind of lose that sense of identity there. But I guarantee you, no one in that room could go through what I went through and then come out looking if they look half as good as me, then good for them. But I don't know if they could or not. So I keep that in the back of my mind too. That's who I am. So, yeah. Again, it's competitive, but it's a different competitive. Like I'm not gonna be able to outthrow you or outrun you or something, but I've been through more than what you can imagine. So I feel a sense of pride and ego about that, if you will.
In regards to that competitiveness, if you want to see that competitiveness in action, come to a Lourdes basketball game and watch Tim standing up on the perch, as we call it, riding the referees he's there at tip-off for the women's games and at tip-off for the men's games, and those refs don't get a break from the second the game starts until the very end. But you haven't received a technical yet, so that's good. Yes?
My background is in marketing and PR, and I remember the accident, and I remember how intensely it was covered by CNN because the accident happened in their backyard. And the intense publicity and ongoing visibility. I know personally 3 people, you're the third now, with about your age that are living with traumatic brain injury. I know it can be very isolating and very difficult. How do you think the publicity and the community support has impacted your ability to recover?
Well, as you said, it's a lonely injury. I mean, no one really knows, but the community supporting me, doing what they can, learning about that, what my family did for me, learning what that nurse did for me in Atlanta, and all those things that boost me for sure, and that makes me feel like I am. They want me to be a part of their life. They want me to be here, and that's an empowering feeling for sure. And again, just learning about all of the things that, like for example, I have from the National Football Foundation, I give out the Berta Courage Award now. And it used to be the Don King Courage Award, but now it's the Berta Courage Award. And I feel like that's a power too. That makes me feel welcomed in the community as well. Things like that. There are moments that boost me big time.
Today, and I would assume you've been inspiring to most everybody in this room. This is actually now the 3rd time I've had the chance to hear you speak or spend time with you. And as I don't remember, it was Bill or Kevin said before, sometimes the word like amazing maybe gets overused. In your case, it is not overused at all. And for those in the room who haven't seen it, ESPN did a mini documentary on Tim. If you just Google it, it's called the E60. I believe the title it is Remembering Bluffton.
E60, it's an E60 feature, and it's called Remember Bluffton. Yes, it's on Vimeo now, or my personal website you can look at too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It is absolutely worth watching. It'll add some color to this. Might not have wanted to watch it while you're eating lunch. Not all of it is completely appetizing, because it's somewhat vivid about the crash. And, buddy, you didn't look near so hot while we're in the pictures of in the hospital. And give your mom and dad a ton of credit
Yes.
for being there along with you, being
Yes.
a dad. Can't
Yes.
imagine getting that phone call.
Yes.
They went through a lot, but
Yes.
big props to you for your drive and the inspiration, you know, and just your drive to get better. Just all that aside, you're a big sports guy. You're involved. One of the things I know you do, in addition to going out and inspiring people like this, is you've been a coach now for several years. Talk a little bit about that and how that's become part of your life and what you get from that.
Now I'm coaching, get this, I used to coach baseball, I coached football, I coached basketball, and now I coach girls golf at the high school level. And I'm thinking, I'm not a very good golfer. What do you? But I have taught them putting, what I do to putt, and the first time I taught them some of those lessons, their score after the match, their scores fell off the table, and that gives me satisfaction and purpose beyond. Oh, that's a great feeling for sure. That brings back the sports moments, the play hard, do things the right way, and that's really what it brings to me too. I used to be an athlete and now I'm not, but I can at least coach. Well, you know what they say, those who can golf, those who can't coach golf. So
And your golf team did pretty well this year, too.
oh yeah, we didn't lose. Undefeated.
I was on the board. Fellowship.
You were there?
I was there.
Really?
I was on the board.
Wow.
I just want to say, after all these years, how inspiring it is to hear your story. And I did hear you out at Lord's that night, and I've read your book. That we need this, and I hope we use this introduction to your story about our common humanity and how we shouldn't give up and how we can rally around when we're needed as human beings. And I just wanted to tell you how proud I am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being on the board too.
Thank you very much. What a fantastic presentation. Okay. If it's not something related. We have a golf outing, okay, every year. Our golf outing this year is May 5th. Lord's is a sponsor of it. We'd like to invite you to play and comp your player package this year, okay? So put May 5th in your calendar.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to know, Bill says you can play golf, and I have to believe you can. I mean, of course you can coach, but you can play too.
Kinda.
And the fact that you can play, it's a sport, okay? What does that do to you mentally when you're playing golf, when you're hitting shots? How does it bring you back to where you were?
Well, like I said, in those moments of seeing the ball go where it needs to go, or watching that putt wind just the way I planned it, I'm who I was. I'm back to that good athlete identity I used to have, that quality sports guy. I'm back to that. Those moments bring me back, and I cannot get enough of those things. So it's, yeah. What were we saying, Mom?
No, wait a minute.
Oh.
Before we end here, in deference to these very nice people that may end up on a golf course with you sometime, and you're playing for money, you know, Tim can play. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and he can putt for sure. And I think when it comes to the member tournament at Highland Meadows, I hear that you're the first call that everybody makes for their what
'Cause I have a big
partner,
handicap.
right? But isn't that? I mean, you've said this to me before. You get tired a little bit towards
yeah.
the end of the round.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, you make some incredible shots out there.
I'll try, yeah.
But especially the putter.
Yeah, when they asked me what my handicap was at first, I said, severe brain injury. I mean, if that doesn't get you strokes, well, how much more handicap do you want? Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Tim, thank you very much. I can say this is certainly the most emotional I've been in a presentation in my time in Rotary. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your courage. Bill, thanks for moderating on this. We joked with Tim over the weekend that we had put an ask out to somebody way more qualified than Bill to be the moderator. And when Tim found out he was stuck with Bill, he was like, oh. And I'd love to tell you that I'm joking about that, but that was legitimately Tim's response on a phone call, and it was fantastic. Bill, you did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. I can also tell you, Tim, that I've gotten a number of text messages throughout this meeting, and I am pleased if you're willing to accept it. We would love to have you be a member of our club. And we have members that are going to sponsor your membership to be a member of Toledo Rotary if you'd have us.
Okay. Oh. Thank you.
Absolutely. We also, as a gift and a thank you for your time, we've got a past president of our club that has also authored a book called Historical Tales of Toledo that we'd like to provide to you as well as a thank you, as we
Okay.
do with all of our guests. And we're going to make a donation in your name to Rotary International's Polio Plus Fund to eradicate polio, which is a primary issue and focus for Rotary International. So thank you very much. One more time, a big round of
Thank you.
applause for
Thank
Tim
you.
Berta. You guys can stay put.
Thank you.
No.
Thank
No,
you.
you're done, Tim. No, I'm kidding. No, go ahead.
No, but just thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
We have some great programs this month. Next week, Ed Ewers will join us as the superintendent of Penna Career Center in celebration of Vocational Services Month. We are off on January 20th in honor of Martin Luther King Day, and then we return January 27th when Ross Youngs tells us about obtaining the dark matter of biology, unlocking nature's hidden potential. I am not smart enough for that meeting, but I will be here. There is one committee meeting this afternoon. Environmental Services is in the ballroom. A reminder, if you're not currently on the Environmental Services Committee, you're still welcome to join us, and we'd love to have you get involved in any of our service committees. With that, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for helping us share the gift of Rotary, and thank you for all you do. Happy New Year, and go out and make it a great day.
Thank you, Bill. That was
right?
great. That was fantastic. Well done.
Like I said, some of it was scripted, some of it was just
Well, yeah, that's how it is.